Hello, and welcome to Health and Fitness Redefined. I'm your host, Anthony Amen. Join me today as we take a dive into the world of health and fitness, where we learn how to overcome adversity, detect facts versus fiction, and see health and fitness in a whole new light. Today, guys, I am honored to announce that we are finally, years in the making, starting online coaching through Redefined Fitness. So this is the first time that I'm going public with it on this episode. That means we can now reach out to clients all over the world, where I know all my listeners are listening to. What does online coaching entail through Redefined Fitness? If you are somebody that is a client and wants to lose weight, get over an injury, work with any personal trainer on anything that you want to do, we will design programs specifically through you with our new awesome Redefined Fitness training app. This app lets us send you customized workouts. We get to pick sets, reps, weight targets. You'll see videos of how to do the exercises. We'll give you a nutrition aspect to it. You'll get bi-weekly calls with our coach. It's an amazing program. So if you're interested, check out redefine-fitness.com or give us a call at 631-743-9906. Without further ado, let's jump into this week's episode. We have a guest on today, guys, and he is also a podcast host. I personally like doing these episodes because instead of having one guest to talk about one specific topic, now I get to have one guest to talk about an array of different topics, and we really get to target things, talk about things we've both heard about. So it's going to be a great show. So stay tuned and let's welcome Brad Carlson. Brad, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Anthony. Super stoked to be here and very much appreciate it. Thanks again.
I'm excited because I got to tell you, this will be probably my fourth or fifth episode having another host on. And they're always fun because we can kind of bounce ideas off each other and talk about everything that all of guests to talk to. Because, I mean, I've done over 150 shows. You've done almost about the same. So that's like having 300 people sitting in a room and trying to discuss different ideas.
It is, it's crazy. I love coming on these and talking with people like you because, even as fitness coaches and health coaches, we're still learning. We're still, always open to ideas, and I get to pick your brain and you get to pick my brain. And it's just an awesome, good time. So I'm blessed to be here. Thanks again for having me.
I appreciate you coming on. Before we get into that, though, we want to hear about you. What got you into the health and fitness world? And then how did you segue that into getting into the podcast field?
Oh my gosh. Well, I know we're limited on time here. I'll try to give the short version. I was your classic couch potato. That's how I like to start it off. I was very active in my 20s and did sports growing up. And then, come my 30s, I did what everybody does. I got married. I had was helping to raise a child, and work became everything. The work, eat, sleep, repeat routine became everything. And I woke up one day and found myself 50 pounds overweight. And, for men, we say we have that pot belly or that spare tire, or, 12 pack, I think they call it, something like that, around the waist. I had I think a 42-inch waist at the time, something like that. And I was just, that was 13 years ago. And I still remember that to this day. And I was just disgusted with myself and disappointed. And I said, I got to make a change. And very, very long story short, it took me a while to actually be able to make that change. But then I learned, I finally lost the weight. I lost the 35 pounds initially, and it was several years later before I lost the other 15 pounds. But the first couple of years, I learned something very, very important that I would share with anybody. And that is I became very, very fit, but I was not healthy. I was not healthy at all. In fact, I would say the fitter I became, the less healthy I became. The fitter I became, the more stressed out I became. The actual people say, well, I want to get fit and in shape to have more energy. And that's true, but there's also a tipping point where things start to become too much. And so I kind of took it too far to the extreme. And I woke up one day and I said, you know what? I'm miserable. I can run a 10K. I can run a marathon. I did a high altitude race, one of these Spartan high altitude races at 14,000 feet. I should have been on cloud nine, but I was like, you know what? I'm fit, but I'm miserable. And I'm like, this is not how to live life. So then I realized, there's a spiritual component to this. There's an emotional component to this. And I needed to tap into that. And of course, when you seek and you shall find, or when the student is ready, the teacher shall appear. And so I had a couple mentors that came into my life that helped me get more in line with my authentic self and who I am. And that allowed me to find balance. And so I kind of backed off the fitness a little bit and then started pushing the healthy gas pedal. And I just became much more balanced. That's why, so my podcast, the last part of it is eat ice cream. I say, be well, be safe, be happy, eat ice cream. That's what the eat ice cream is about. It's literally go out and get a scoop of ice cream. Who doesn't like a scoop of ice cream every once in a while? But it's about finding that balance. Yeah, exactly. It's about finding that balance. And so I had to do that. And so that's, if you want to really, excel in life, you have to find that balance between being fit and healthy and happy and fulfilled. And so luckily, I had some mentors that came into my life, and I'm still on that journey, I should say, but I had some mentors come into my life that helped me with that. And I had to do a lot of inner work. It's an inner process. Part of why I was not healthy was because of some of my beliefs that were holding me back. Some beliefs that a lot of people have. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. I had some pretty serious beliefs along those lines, and I had to, take a good hard look in the mirror and figure some of that stuff out. But I did. And, they say, if you're going through fire, keep going and you come out stronger on the other side, which is what you do. So been an awesome journey for sure.
That's a crazy journey, and something that we've talked about a lot, not necessarily from like a 4,000 view, but it's a lot of people when they talk about diets. I think that's kind of where I'm going with this, is diets don't work because they don't create habits. And you go on a diet, you're miserable, you're angry, and it's not something sustainable. So you're going to end up coming off of it and doing worse, when instead you should eat better, but enjoy your life. To an example, like I'm the first to admit I love a good IPA, and I'm gonna drink that beer.
You and me both.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. I'm going out tonight playing volleyball, and I'm having a beer with it, because you gotta enjoy life. But it's not doing the enjoying part to excess and not taking care of yourself, and also vice versa. So it's finding a nice, healthy, happy balance where you're eating right and you're not doing too much where you're burning yourself, or you're not doing too little where your body's packing on the pounds. So there's a balance.
Look at that, for example, the word diet. How many people get excited when they hear that word diet? Most people cringe and their I don't know, their skin crawls up the back of their neck or something. I got rid of the word diet from my vocabulary probably at least 5 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago. I replaced it with the word or the phrase healthy eating, because healthy eating excites me. Whereas diet does not. And then people always talk about habit. I love this one. And, how do you make a new habit, and how do you form a new habit? And they say it takes 21 days to form a new habit, or some people say it takes 40 days or 60 days. And I say my answer to that is no, no, and no. It takes 5 seconds. It takes 5 seconds to form a new habit. But there is a but. There's no magic bullet to this. You have to have a reason why. You have to have that why, that bulletproof why that people talk about. Why do you want to form this new habit? Why do you want to eat healthy? Why do you want to? There's another one, losing weight. Most people have that goal to lose weight. I want to lose 50 pounds or something. That's a great goal. Don't get me wrong. I definitely admire and respect that. But that doesn't excite people. And so I say, let's get something that excites you, where losing weight becomes the byproduct. So in my case, as a couch potato, I did the, as your classic couch to 5K story that then just kept on going and going and going. So let's find something that excites you, that, gets you out of bed in the morning. Maybe it's, it has to be something active, so maybe it's learning to, I don't know, roller ski. That's something I'm learning right now, or bike ride. I don't know, something that excites you, where we don't focus on the weight, but we focus on becoming a better version of you, and we allow weight to be the byproduct. And then let's use words that excite us. But for that habit to stick, it takes 5 seconds. You have to know that why. But it may take days, weeks, months to understand that why. There's an exercise I do, actually. It's called the 5 whys. Why do I want to lose weight? Well, because I want to play with my grandkids. Why do I want to play with my grandkids? Well, because, I want to have more energy. Well, why do I want to have more energy? Well, because I want to be around for a long time. Oh, so that's the real reason you want to lose weight, is because you want to be around for a long time. So something like that, that's a much more powerful why. And that's going to make the person stick with it much more than, oh, I want to lose 50 pounds or something. Again, I'm not trying to knock that. But Anthony, you've been in this field for a long, long time, and you've worked with tons of clients, and you've probably more than once seen people lose weight, gain it back, lose it, gain it back, lose it, gain it back. And it's, bless their heart, they all have a reason, but if they don't have that internal reason, they're going to gain it back every time. And if they don't have a reason that is really meaning and purposeful for them, my why became because I want to take care of my mind, body, and spirit. And if I take care of my mind, body, and spirit, it will take care of me. It's kind of like you take care of your car will take care of you by getting you from point A to point B safe and sound without breaking down or anything like that. So it's a catch-22. People want to, create that new habit and lose weight and go on a diet. And I say, let's get something that excites you. Let's talk about eating, because that excites people. People love to talk about eating. Let's talk about eating then. Well, what can we eat? Let's not talk about losing weight. Let's talk about something that's fun, that excites you. Oh, I like to go for walks. Okay, well, let's develop a program around walking. Oh, you know what? I really like to play racquetball. Oh, hey, whatever you like to do, let's do that. So
that's why one of the questions we always ask people is, what do they like doing for fun?
Yeah.
What kind of recreational activity do you like? Because then we can use that as that weight loss mechanism. I'm doing air quotes while I'm doing this, because then it's like, okay, maybe you enjoy tennis and you gain too much weight and you have no mobility and you can't play anymore. So let's make the goal to get back into tennis. Let's go get your body moving. All right, now you can go play tennis once a week. Cool. Let's work on getting you to play twice a week now. Let's work on some things so you don't hurt yourself while you're playing. You can keep doing that sport for a long time, because ultimately that's going to keep you healthy. It's just constant movement. It doesn't matter where you're getting it from, as long as your body's constantly in motion. Your body heals in motion. I have this theory, and I don't share it often, and I'm going to put out there, it is a theory of me personally. There's no study on this, or whatever there is out there.
Love to hear
it. I truly believe our bodies heal in movement. And what I mean by that is, if you go back to hunter-gathering times, and even before we stayed in homes like we do now, which wasn't too long ago, we constantly had to move, because if we didn't move, we would die. We would fall apart from the pack, and that would be the end of us, and then we couldn't pass on our genes. So our bodies, through evolution, had to learn how to adapt to be able to heal ourselves while moving. So a good example would be, if you have a common cold, instead of laying in bed all day, you should get up and put in some movement in your life, because that's going to help you heal faster. Yes, there's things out there you shouldn't overdo it. I'm not talking about going to run a marathon when you're feeling sick. I don't believe in that.
I did that once, actually. I wouldn't recommend it.
I wouldn't recommend it. It's going to make it worse. You're going to burn yourself out. But I totally believe in just going for a walk around the block. I mean, I was sick with COVID. I think one of the reasons I got over it really quickly, I went for walks every day. I didn't have any fluid buildup in my lungs like a lot of people suffered from, because they laid in bed. That's what's going to cause pneumonia. A lot of sicknesses are caused from not moving. If, on the flip side, if it's a physical injury, I still believe you should create movement in that area. It took a while for the science to kind of catch up to what we knew as a society. And a proof of this is, they used to say pre-surgery, don't do physical therapy. Don't move it. If you sprain something, like you tear something completely, keep it still. We'll do surgery. We're going to get that surgery. We're going to reattach the muscle, and then don't move for like 3 months, and then start PT. That was like 5 to 10 years ago. And now all of a sudden they're saying, all right, now we want you to move up to the day that you're getting surgery. The day you have, right after you get the surgery, within hours, we're getting you up out of bed, and we're having you move and walk around and use it. So you're seeing the science slowly start to catch up with something that I've always believed is create that motion, keep moving, and that's going to really be the key to health. It's just keeping your body in motion.
Absolutely. I agree with you 1,000%. And on a side note, real quick, you mentioned hunter-gatherers. We could do an entire another podcast on that. My entire philosophy and program and everything is centered around hunter-gatherer cultures and not just what they ate, but how they ate. And yeah, exactly how they moved. Yeah. Oh yeah. Movement absolutely is critical, is key. Not just the physical aspect, but movement releases endorphins and dopamine and serotonin and things like that. Those feel-good chemicals, which we need. That's the happy part and the fulfilled parts. Yeah, absolutely. Move, move, move. But again, it goes back to that why. You've got to have a higher meaning and purpose. Real quick, a story about this that I always like to share when I do motivational talks. I get up in front of the audience and I say, okay, real quick, how many of you with absolutely no training at all, no experience at all, could go out and run a 50-mile race tomorrow? Not a single hand goes up in the audience. Okay. Now I say, okay, how many of you tomorrow, just in fact, let's say 10 minutes from now, the gun goes off, the start time goes off, could run a 50-mile race with no training, no experience at all. If you knew that at the end of that race, when you cross the finish line, every form of cancer would be cured forever. Almost every hand in the audience goes up. Maybe one or two don't. But I ask, okay, so what's the difference? The first time you wouldn't run the race, but the second time you would. What's the difference? And the second time they had a stronger, higher meaning and purpose. Because now they're not just running a race, they're running a race to cure cancer. That's a much bigger difference. So if you're on a journey to lose weight versus you're on a journey because you want to be around for a long time, you can see the difference. So if you want to move, absolutely move, move, move. That's why my first 2 years of my journey, I lost the weight, gained the weight, lost the weight, gained the weight. Yeah, I was moving and I was exercising, but I wasn't grounded in that higher meaning and purpose that I call it. And so to anyone, now that I've done this for a while and I understand this more, I always start with my client. I ask, who are you? Who do you want to be? What's your highest vision of you? What's that best vision of you? And for me, it was when I finally understood this more, it's like, oh, I want to be healthy. I never said I want to lose weight. I never said I want to go to the gym. I never said I want to exercise. None of that. I just said I want to be healthy. Everything started to kind of shape around that. It's like, oh, what can I do today to be healthy? Oh, I'll go for a walk. Or what can I eat to be healthy? Oh, I'll eat this broccoli. If I eat that donut, that's my weakness, donut and cupcakes, which I worked in a health department. We had donuts and cupcakes there every single day. If I eat that donut, is it going to help me reach my vision of being healthy? And the answer was no, of course not. Now I had to learn to balance that. And okay, well, a donut once in a while is not that big a deal. Every single day, 2 or 3, that becomes a big deal. But again, you have to do the inner work. And I start my clients with, what is your vision? What is your point B? Now, why do you want to go there? Out of all the point B's, why this point? Why do I want to be healthy? Well, because I'll have more energy. Why do I want to have more energy? Well, if I have more energy, I can do the things I want to do. Why do I want to do the things I want to do? Because then I'll feel like I'm living a more purposeful life. Why do I want a more purposeful life? Well, because then I'll feel like I'm being this person I'm meant to be. Oh, you see how that works? You go through those layers. And so everybody has to do that at the start of the journey. Most people focus on the physical aspect, the training, the moving, which is great. That's absolutely needed. And the eating healthy and all that. But you've got to do the intellectual, emotional, spiritual side of this too. You got to get down to, why are you here? Why are you doing this? And who do you want to be? Those are the top 2 things I start every person, every program now, is who do you want to be and why are you here? Why do you want to be this? And if they give me, this is where you got to challenge yourself. So if you're really serious about this, you gotta do the work. And so I will challenge them and say, that's a good answer, but I can tell, it's just not you. You can tell when a client gets it because their eyes light up, their tone of voice will change. And that's when you've hit that magic button. And until they hit that magic button, as a coach, I got to keep pushing them to get to that, because I know at some point I'll release them. And if I release them and they haven't hit that magic button yet, there's a more likely chance that they'll relapse and this won't become permanent. They won't form that new habit. So you've got to where, who are you? Who are you? Why are you becoming this person? And then you've got to get them, I always like to say the magic ingredient to any journey that I learned in my first 2 years of just failing, gain the weight, lose the weight, gain the weight, lose the weight. The magic bullet to all of this is it's a simple word. It starts with a D. Actually, there's two words, but the one I'm talking about is determination. You've got to be determined. But the other D word to that is decide. You have to make a decision. You have to decide once and for all that, yes, I'm going to be this person, or no, I'm not going to be this person. Most people, I always use I'm a Generation Xer, and I always use the metaphor from the Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi. He says, if you walk on the left side of the road, you're safe. If you walk on the right side of the road, you're safe. But if you walk in the middle, you get squashed like a grape. So most people, when it comes to their health journey, they're walking in the middle of the road. They have not truly decided who they want to be. And so for that reason, it's hard to form a new habit. So you either have to decide, hey, I'm going to be a couch potato, or I'm going to be a healthy version, instead of getting stuck in the middle there. So.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's finding the purpose-driven reason you want to do it. And there's a lot of good books out there. I know The Power of Why is one of them.
Yeah, that is one of them. Yeah.
Great book. Highly recommend for anyone to read that. It's just, I mean, as our audience knows, they know my why. It really shows, like, if we can do things for a higher reason, like mine's to help others. So if I work out to show others that they can, and therefore I can make a bigger impact, that it's not just because I want to look good. That's really that vain reason of trying to lose the weight only goes so far. Whereas it has to be a deeper reason, a deeper emotional, impactful reason about why you want to do what you want to do. And I really couldn't agree more with you on that. That really what it summarizes down to. We're going to get into, in the next segment, I really want to talk about like just a summary. I want to hear about the craziest things you've heard on your show. I want to hear about the best things you've heard on your show. I want a summary of everything all together. Ask all of the big, juicy questions. But first, we're going to grab a quick break from our sponsor, and we'll be right back. For us, we know what it's like to feel unhealthy, depressed, and downright defeated. We want to show others there is a right way, and through fitness, you could do anything you set your mind to. Fitness can give you that motivation, confidence, energy you need to bridge that mental gap and prevent you from missing important life events. We understand it's about feeling better, living longer, and being good examples for our kids. We understand this because we live it. And for us, that's the redefined difference. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the show. We have Brad Carlson here. We're going to get into a segment about his podcast episode so we can hear about all the best and craziest stuff that he's heard about, his interpretation of it as a host, because it's something we don't get to talk about often. So, Brad, let's start with the best advice and the most impactful thing you've ever heard on your show.
Wow. It's funny you asked me that as the first question, because that was just what was in my mind. Like, what was the best advice I've heard on my show? So the best advice I've heard on my podcast, and this absolutely floored me and has just shook me like a ton of bricks. You don't manage time. You manage priorities.
It's good.
Yeah. So what are your priorities? And then the time management automatically happens.
Has that something that you've then implemented in your own life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So every day I wake up, I don't know if you're probably familiar with this, have a morning routine. Yeah. My morning routine always starts off, what is my number one priority today? And right now where I am, it's usually something work related. So I'm writing another health and wellness book right now on diet and keeping weight off permanently. And so I spend an hour writing every morning. That's my number one priority right now. But if I look at the bigger picture, the number one priority in my life is building my health coaching business, maintaining my three priorities in life are God, health, and family. right there. So keeping those balance. But from the health perspective, it's building that business. So it's not managing time, it's managing priorities. That's that when I heard that, I was floored because I had never heard that before. All I heard was time management. How can we manage our time, and tons of workshops and all kinds of things on that. But yeah, that one floored me. So manage your priorities, not your time.
What's a piece of advice someone has given you that you didn't believe at first, but maybe have tried later and turns out that guest was right? Tough one.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Let me share two other things on my show that were really impactful for me.
Okay.
One was, so we talk about self-love and self-compassion and all of that. And a lot of us, myself especially, have been really, talked down to myself or hard on myself or, negative to myself. And one of my guests said, talk to yourself the way that your best friend would talk to you. And I went, oh, because your best friend would never say negative stuff to you. They would encourage you. They would support you. They would build you up. And so talk to yourself that the way that your best friend would too. And then I had another guest say, this was pretty impactful too, because sometimes, we don't practice enough self-compassion or things like that. And the way we treat ourselves. And so she said, treat yourself the way that you would your dog. And I just went, oh my God, I spoil my dog rotten. My dog, she's a rescue dog. She gets a 5-course meal. She gets, 3 beds, multiple walks and playtime. And I treat her like the princess. It's like, well, why don't I treat myself like that? So that just made a lot of sense too. So treat yourself the way you would your family pet.
I like that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to add to the best friend thing real quick. And I think this is an important component that maybe you guys didn't talk about.
Okay.
As a best friend, I expect them to let me know when I screw up.
Yes.
And call me out on my BS.
Yeah. Yes, that's brilliant. I'm gonna call her and tell her that too, because she didn't add that part. That is brilliant. Yeah, because that's what a best friend would do. They would call you out on your BS. And how likely are you to call yourself out on your BS? So that's huge. I'm stealing that, Anthony. I'm taking that with me.
That's right. I just thought of it right now. Like, that's so true. My best friend would be like, no, don't do that.
It worked.
And my best friend's my wife. So
there you go. Even better. Even better.
All the time when I come home, it's like, Anthony, don't do this. Is like, fine, you're right.
Yeah. Or she'll put you in your place when you need to. Also,
she always does.
That's what a best friend does. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So what's a product, and I want to stick to specifically a product, or maybe a service, something you go out and buy that someone's talked about on their show that you've tried and really liked, or tried and really hated?
I can't remember the exact name of the product, but I remember what it did and what happened. So this was a few years ago when I was really in the peak of my running. I just finished a half marathon, and a sponsor came up to me and said, would you like to try this nutritional supplement? And it was a carbohydrate nutritional supplement for post-workouts. And I'm like, heck yeah, I'll try it. And she was not only was she giving a free sample, it was like the full jug. It was like, a regular size jug, 80, I think retailed $80 or something like that. So I took it home and, I followed the directions. I think 1 scoop, add to water or whatever. And I don't know how far I want to go into this story, but after about the 3rd day, something really, really strange was happening. And I'll just say this, my urine was glowing like neon green. Yeah, it was just the weirdest thing. And there was not a whole lot of burning, but it was like, imagine you're in a completely dark room and you have one of those neon glow sticks, that neon green type color. That's what my urine was doing. It was like really weird. It's like I was shooting a laser out or something. So anyway, that was the weirdest product. I don't remember the name of it, but yeah, needless to say, after I think only about 3 days, I quit taking that and I threw the rest away.
I don't blame you.
You never know with some of those over-the-counter supplements and products what you're going to get.
We did a whole one on supplementing. It's so true. Go check that episode out.
Yeah.
So I guess that will segue right into the next appropriate question. What's the craziest thing you've heard that you're like, there's no way that's true?
Oh my gosh. Let me throw that question back at you. What have you? I mean, you've had a lot of crazy guests on your show. What's one of the craziest things you've heard, and maybe that'll spark something in me.
I had a guest that was talking about angelic healing,
What?
where he could
Angelic healing?
angelic healing. He swore that he could do chiropractic work virtually through angels coming down and fixing you.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. I've actually heard that. I don't. Do you know who Wayne Dyer is? Have you heard that name?
No.
He's one of the. How do I say? He's kind of like the Michael Jordan of like the spiritual community, I guess. But he had a whole podcast episode where he talked about that exact same thing. Yeah, that's. I don't know. I guess. Yeah, that's. I don't know. I guess.
That's a to each to own kind of one.
Yeah. Craziest thing, I've been really lucky. I've had some absolutely awesome guests, and I can't wait to get you on my podcast, Anthony. But I would say honestly, I don't think I've heard anything super crazy like that I'm like, no, I just don't follow that. I've heard some really good stuff. Another term. Let me throw this one out there. That a guest told me. This was a few episodes ago, maybe about 2 months ago. We were talking about food and healthy eating and all that. And of course, we've all heard this phrase, food is medicine. Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. But then she flipped it, also something I had never heard. She said, food is also poison. And I went, oh. Obviously depending on what you eat and how much you eat, but that, even for me as a health coach, that really struck me. And I actually included that in the book I'm writing now. Food is medicine or food is poison, just depending on what you choose to eat and how you choose to look at it. So, anything with sugar in it, we all know, with modern science, the impacts of sugar on our health and our cells and all of that. So people are restarting to think about sugar, but I never really thought of it that, it can be poison. Literally, you think what happens to someone that eats, SAD, the standard American diet, day after day, after 20, 30 years, of course, they're, it's one drop at a time, they're poisoning their system. And, one drop becomes two, becomes three. And after a while, you've now got, if you, one drop of water in a bucket after a month becomes full. That's 5 gallons of water you have now. So after 20 years, you've poisoned yourself in the form of heart disease, obesity, high blood pressure, host of other issues, that are caused from that. So
True.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've been really lucky to have some awesome guests, I'm sure. So when you're on my podcast, Anthony, I'm going to ask you those same questions. So.
I want you to. I got another one for you.
Okay.
What guest were you the most excited and nervous to have on because you really wanted them to have them on your show? Someone maybe you'd like, someone you looked forward to really having on before you did it.
You know what? I've been blessed. So I haven't done as many episodes as you. I've just recorded, I think, my 44th one. And so I've had about 40 guests. 4 of those were solo episodes that I did. But there was a young woman. She is over in the UK, in England, I think just outside of London, if I remember. And she just had an incredible story. And she is one of these, best-selling authors, not world famous, but if you mention her name, like she's best-selling author on Amazon, and she's built a multi-million-dollar coaching business. I mean, she is who I want to be. And she did it. She came from, I call it couch to healthy, but she came from being a drug addict, severely overweight, kicked out of her family and society, just completely rags to riches story. And and I'd been trying to get her on my show for about 2 or 3 months. That's one where you just got to keep, nudging and pinching and pushing. And finally, we were able to connect, and she agreed to be on the show, and we set up a date. And that one was just wow. I mean, that's so. If I could, I can't remember. I want to say it's podcast episode 12, maybe, on my show. I can't remember exactly. But just an incredible woman. That, I mean, that's the stuff that Hollywood movies are made of. Was her life story.
I love that.
Yeah. In fact, actually, I've got several guests like that lined up coming up on the show too. And another one I did a couple of weeks ago, also in London. through, just searching and word of mouth, I find these guests that have just overcome the odds. I had one that was went from emotional eating to super fit to anorexic to emotional eating to now thriving, and also has $1 million coaching business. I mean, these are just incredible stories, and I get to listen to them, and I'm just so blessed. That was the one who told me, treat yourself like you would treat your dog, and talk to yourself the way that your best friend would talk to you. So
I love that. I did mine all the way episode 3.
Episode 3. Wow. That was a long time ago for you.
I was already really nervous about podcasting, and I ended up having Joe DeCina on from the CEO of Spartan.
Whoa. How'd you get him on?
I just asked.
Like him, you got a hold of him directly?
Yeah, he was on my show. We did about a 25-minute episode.
Dang.
And I just wasn't ready for it because I wasn't like really good at podcasting, or at least better like I am now. And he just came right out of the gate swinging.
Wow.
It was a great show.
That episode. I've got my list of dream guests, that's for sure. But wow. So you just like, how'd you contact him? By email or what?
Yeah, it's what life's about, man. It's just about reaching out to people and taking risks. And I think that's just a great segue right there in and of itself when it comes to health and fitness. Take a risk on yourself.
You know what? That's why I love doing these shows, because that totally just motivated and inspired me. I've got one particular dream guest right now. She's a world famous trainer that I'm on her Instagram. I'm like, I should reach out to her, but I haven't had the guts to do it. But now hearing what you did, I'm going to go home and I'm going to message her and see what happens.
It goes a long way, because then you get in those circles, and that's like, this is just a good preface for listeners. Like, what's the worst case scenario? They say no.
They say no, yeah.
And then guess what? You're in the same boat you are in right now.
Yep.
That's with everything in life. What's the worst case scenario of starting to go to the gym? It doesn't work. You're in the same boat, but at least you tried. What's the worst case scenario of drinking one less soda a day? You're slightly little upset that I had one less soda, but you're still ending up in the same exact spot you are in today. So it's taking that extra step to do something impactful in your life, especially when it comes to beyond health and fitness, just entrepreneurship or wanting to take a risk in your own personal life. Like, a great example, which is something you see all the time, is the typical teenage boy-girl scenario that you want to ask that girl to the prom, and you're really nervous about it. And or my scenario, because my wife could currently hear me talking, but asking that girl that you just met at a gym to go on a date with you, worst case scenario, you end up in the same boat you're in. Best case scenario, 8 years later, you end up married. So,
what's funny? So a question you asked earlier, what's one of the most impactful things you've heard on this show? That's why I love doing these shows, is because every time I do a podcast or anything in life, I try to take away one thing, like one nugget. What's one thing I can take away that I can apply to my life and make it better? And you just shared that with me. You just reach out and ask, just go for it. Because worst case scenario, you'll just wind up where you just are. So here I've been debating, reaching out to this trainer, and so thank you, Anthony. Yeah, it was meant to be. I come here today. That's my takeaway right there. So I'm absolutely going to message her when we're done here today. So
I love it. I'm going to follow up with you and make sure you do it. I'm going to go right to the last 2 questions I always ask everybody, but I'm actually going to do, because as my guests know, my listeners, this is not going to be the stereotypical question, because usually the question is summarize this episode in 1 or 2 sentences, but that doesn't really apply to today's episode. So what I'm going to ask you is summarize overall everything you've heard in your life as it comes to health and fitness and all the guests you had in your show. Put it into 1 or 2 sentences as a take-home message that if I'm listening right now and I go ahead and write this down, this is going to have a huge impact on my life.
All right, you ready?
Tough.
It's not. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Be a source of love, health, and happiness for everyone.
Be a source of love, health, and help. Right? For everybody?
Be a source of love, health, and happiness for the world.
I love that. Awesome. I'm going to write that one down and then
There you go. There you go.
hang it up in my room because it's so true.
Be the source. Be a source of love, health, and happiness. That's my whole mission in life. That's my whole purpose. That's the reason I do the podcast, to be a source of love, health, and happiness for someone. So be a source.
I'm gonna throw in a little sentence here, and I just so true. It's like a little day-to-day takeaway, which is your energy and mood is more impactful on others than you actually believe it to be. And what I mean by that is if you're upset, you're going to make others upset. If you're happy, you're going to make others happy. And don't you want to make other people happy?
You know, can I share? I'll be real quick. Just another short story. I'll be real quick. So be a source of love, health, and happiness, because you absolutely have no clue when your life is impacting another person. This was years ago, but I was speaking with a coworker and I said, "Hey, you look great. What have you lost? About 50, 60 pounds?" He said, "Yeah, I've lost 40 pounds and I got 30 more to go." And I'm like, "That's awesome. What inspired you?" And he said, "You did, Brad." And I went, "What?" I mean, my eyes got this big. And I had absolutely no clue, but he's on my Facebook, and I had been posting about my races and my health, weight, journeys and struggles and blah, 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 all that stuff. But everything you do in your life, somebody somewhere is watching you and is paying attention. Whether it's in today's world with internet and Facebook, that person could be on the other side of the world, but absolutely somewhere your life matters to another person. That would be my take-home message, I guess, for today for your listeners. Your life matters, and your life absolutely matters for another person, because somebody somewhere is paying attention to you. So you have a choice to be a source, but what source will you be? Love, health, and happiness, or anger, hurt, and bitterness? You know, something the opposite there. What source do you choose to be? Because somebody is watching you and is listening. And when he told, I still remember that to this day. That was probably, gosh, at least 7, 8 years ago. I was just floored that my life and what I was doing was having an impact on another person. That was the first time that I really realized that what I do with my life can impact another person. And that's when I just started, down more the path, and eventually it came to me, what my purpose is, to be a source of love, health, and happiness for the world.
So true. And then last question, Brad, I ask everybody just to wrap this up. Where can people find you, get a hold of you, all the good stuff? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sure. Absolutely. You can find me at my website, trainingwithcoachbrad.com. Instagram, the same thing, trainingwithcoachbrad.com. My Facebook, facebook.com/be well, be safe, be happy, eat ice cream. That's my podcast. I would love to have you over there. I've got a free guide that you can download, how to keep weight off permanently, trainingwithcoachbrad.com. Go there, download that guide for free.
I absolutely love it. And thank you guys for joining us on this week's episode of Health and Fitness Redefined. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button and join us next week as we dive deeper into this ever-changing field. And remember, fitness is a journey, not a destination. Until next time.